is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM and is brought to you by SEPTA, Further the Show, the Great American Pub, Independence Blue Cross, and Grand Cafe L'Aquila. We now go live to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome everybody to the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken. We have a great crowd tonight for our Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Unfortunately, the Eagles didn't cooperate yesterday, but they get it going again Monday night or Sunday night. Phillies on right after this. We all wish the Phillies good luck in a run October. We have a great guest tonight. We're going to get right to it. My co-host Paul Domowitch. First of all, how are you, buddy?
Doing well, Charlie. I brought a different voice with me today. I got a sinus infection.
Playing hurt, Domo. I like that. Playing hurt. Our guest tonight never accomplished anything at any level of football, unless, as a coach, you consider winning the Rose Bowl pretty decent accomplishment in college. He won a Super Bowl in the NFL. And by the way, he was elected to the Hall of Fame. One of the great coaches in the history of the NFL. We are honored to have him here. He's been here 3 times now. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet, Mr. Dick Vermeil. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Great to be with both of you guys. I really enjoyed coming in. It's fun. Well, the ride I got in tonight was a little swift.
Well, that's about we got DeAndre Swift, Taylor Swift. Yeah. Now you got a swift ride, yep.
Swift driver.
So what do you think, Coach, yesterday? Obviously you lose. Some games you don't go the way you think. 5-0 back-to-back years. Now you're 5-1. What's Nick Sirianni's biggest, before we talk about the game, what's Nick Sirianni's biggest mission this week to get the Eagles turned around and ready for Miami and avoid that hangover week?
Well, I think the fact that they're playing Miami and everyone's raving about them, especially offensively, that in itself will be a great motivating factor. But they didn't lose the game yesterday because they lack motivation. When you turn the ball over like that, I keep the stats, and I have for years. A playoff caliber team had a 13% chance to win at -3 turnovers yesterday. Yeah. 13% chance to win. You just can't do it, even against, and they're a better team. They're a better team than Cleveland, by far. But you turn the ball over like that, you lose.
Domo?
Yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, it's amazing. This is a team that last year led the league. It was among the league leaders in turnover differential.
Yeah.
But every now and then you have a game like that where you go out and just...
Well, Jalen's thrown 7 picks this year through 6 all of last year.
Yeah.
I know. And I've never coached a quarterback that didn't have a day like that. I've had guys throw 4 interceptions in one day. Okay, and I looked it up one time because my quarterback Trent Green, who he had traded for to bring with me to the Chiefs, threw 4 picks in one ball game, and boy, the media really wanted to get after him. So I went in the record book and I looked at the Hall of Famers, and all of them have thrown. And Marino one time threw 5.
Yeah.
So I used it as it happens.
Well, the fans here, Coach. So the fans, the Eagle fans, the great people we have at the pub tonight. Thank you so much for coming. We got Mike Reichenbach, I guess from a few weeks ago here. He's getting a big award in a couple of weeks. They wonder about the coordinators, the play calling. 45 called pass plays plus the Jalen Hurts runs, 22 called rushing against a team that was 29th in the NFL against the pass. I know they had a lot of cornerbacks out, but did the Eagles play calling make a lot of sense to you yesterday? And if it didn't, have you ever, as a head coach, said to the coordinator, we got to change things up a little bit?
Yes, I've done that. I've seen, especially with Mike Martz, who was, when we had a skilled team with skilled receivers, I'd say run the ball a little bit. And, they started out throwing the ball, which surprised me, but many times you start out throwing the ball to try to get your early lead and then run the ball to control the clock later. It didn't work because they weren't getting many yards out of the passing game. A lot of the stuff was almost on the line of scrimmage, the little bubble screens and that kind of stuff. I'm old-fashioned. I'm always disappointed when you don't run the ball a little bit more. I'll pass on a study I did 2 years ago. I took the 11 best quarterbacks in the NFL for 3 years in a row. 11 best, okay. And not one of them had a better win-loss percentage when he threw the ball more than 40 times than he did when he threw it less than 40 times. Not one of them. And Rodgers was dramatically better. Dramatic. The only guy that was close was Mahomes.
Well, he seems to win no matter what he does. Damo, you have a problem with the play calling yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, Brian Johnson and Nick have not been reluctant to run the ball. I mean, they've had a couple 40-carry games this year. I think they got carried away with the fact that the Jets were missing both of their starting corners.
Yep.
I think they might have been missing their backups as well, and they just got over-enthusiastic that they were going to be able to have success with the passing game. And they did, they go out and score touchdowns on 2 of their first 3 drives. And then it just falls, after that, 7 possessions, not a single point.
Yeah, no points in the second half. They were ahead 14-3 at halftime. They actually played pretty well in the first half in the red zone, an area that drew them crazy. Stopped the Jets in the red zone. Everything was going right at halftime. What was the biggest thing in the second half, Coach, that you saw that swayed it the other way?
Well, first off, everyone talks about play calling. More important than play calling is the design of the play in preparation for the game and why it's in the game plan. Then the utilization becomes, that's the third thing in importance, the utilization of that play at a specific time. And I don't know, I've always believed when you have a real strength, regardless of who you play, you emphasize your strength. And the strength of our offense is starting with the offensive line. Now, we lose Johnson over there on the right side, and that hurt. And you put the young kid in there who did okay last year, but he hadn't got to play this year.
And you've lost Jurgens on that side already. You already got Opeta there, and now you have Driscoll, who didn't have the greatest game in the history.
And you've got to be careful of being real negative on a Driscoll-type kid that only plays this one game, and that you don't know how good the defensive end is. The better the defensive end that you face, the tougher game you're going to have, So, and yesterday was tough for him, but he'll be better this week. He'll be playing this week, and he'll be a lot better.
Yeah, you had mentioned the play calling. I thought a bigger thing was the personnel groupings. They lose Lane, and still they played 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers for like 56 of the 69 plays. They weren't giving them the right tackle a lot of help. And that is a good defense. I mean, it wasn't just Driscoll that struggled. That whole line did not play all that well yesterday, both against the run and the pass. So, and they made mistakes. I mean, you saw drops. You saw Devontae Smith drop a pass wide open that would have been a first down, kept a drive alive. You saw Kenny Gainwell drop a first down pass that would have kept a drive alive.
AJ slowed down on the post. It could have been a touchdown.
There's no excuse for that. Chances are he won't do it again. Because it was obvious what he did. They ran a replay on it.
Do you say something to him when he comes over the sidelines, like keep your, going or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. More often than not, More often than not, a head coach would or an assistant coach would definitely, in person, he knew it. Because he was at full speed. He would have caught that ball.
Sure.
He knew it as soon as it went over his head. Damn.
What are your guys' opinions of our fine feathered friends, the 72 Dolphins, now with the Niners yesterday, and the Eagles are safe for another year, 51 in a row, no undefeated teams throughout the Super Bowl. Obviously, New England came close. What's your opinion of the Dolphins breaking champagne every year? I really have no problem with it. What do you think, Coach?
I like it. I'm old enough to really appreciate and respect that vintage. I got to know Don Shula really well. I got to coach against him. I vacationed with him, and now I'm in the Hall of Fame. I go to the Hall of Fame. I sit next to the Larry Zonkas and these kind of guys, and you're visiting with them, and you just have great admiration for how they played the game and what they were able to accomplish.
Didn't Larry Zonka didn't he fumble a ball once in a while? Herm Edwards might have had something to say about it, Domo.
Yep. No, it was a great accomplishment, and more power to him to celebrate every year that when the last team.
I knew that I had the opportunity to sail across the Atlantic against the Don Shula because he was a spokesperson for Crystal Cruise Lines, and he invited Carol and I to go with him one time.
Wow.
And I could tell by listening to him talk about the seasons, the games after, and the teams now, that he was really, number one, really proud of that. And in fact, he didn't want anyone to break that record. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I'd be the same way.
Coach, the Eagles got ripped heartily for a 3rd and 9 call with 2 minutes left. where Jalen Hurts threw the ball, threw a pick, returned to the 8-yard line. They let him score, which Nick Sirianni basically admitted at his press conference today. And a lot of people said run the ball there, don't give it, let your defense play against Zach Wilson, who's not going to do anything. To me, you have to respect every quarterback in the NFL. Any quarterback can take his team down for a field goal. To me, you had to throw the ball there. You said it was about, I forgot the word you used, the execution, something thereof.
Yeah.
To me, you got to throw the ball. You just got to execute better. Jalen Hurts just can't throw that pass. What'd you feel about that play?
Well, I probably would have thrown the ball too. I'm not sure I would have thrown that style of pass. Certain pass patterns are safer in design and in progression, but that ball was definitely forced in there because they had maybe no one else to go to. Where were they?
Yeah.
Where were the other guys?
Dumbo, you mentioned that. Where were the other guys on the last play, the 4th and 8, when he threw long to Devontae? There was another guy open, right?
I mean, that's the pass. Jalen threw an awful interception on that pass, but the decision he made on the last pass he threw on 4th and 8, he goes deep to Devontae Smith, who's got 2 guys with him. And I'm watching the tape today, and Kenny Gainwell is standing in the middle of the field, wide open. Would have had a first down, would have kept the drive alive, and he was just one of the problems I've seen with Jalen this year is he's getting too locked on to receivers. I don't know why. He didn't seem to have that tendency last year, but it's something he needs to shake.
Has he regressed, Coach?
Pardon?
Has he regressed? I know you used to...
Over in numbers he has, yes. He's still the same guy, but I don't think everything in his mind with the new coordinator and how they're doing things is as well defined to him. It isn't as well defined to him, and there's hesitation or uncertainty within what he's doing. First off, that play when he goes deep, you would have liked to have him thinking about all I have to do is think it for 6, 7
yards,
let him catch it at 4 and run for 4 for the first down rather than doing that. But that obviously was not part of his thinking at that time.
Go ahead, Domo.
I was going to say, it's funny. I mean, when Brian Johnson was promoted, I just thought this was a lock, that this was going to be a perfect marriage. I mean, Brian's known Jalen since he was 4 years old. He was his quarterback's coach for 2 years. They have an outstanding relationship. And I figured that him being promoted to offensive coordinator would be seamless, but it's different. It's not the same, is it?
No, it's not the same.
You're now the play caller. You're not just confidant.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things, and he's relatively inexperienced.
Yeah.
And so he's going to get better. If he has the ability to get better, he'll get better. If he doesn't, he'll get fired.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the NFL, really. And I kind of believe that Nick respected him and appreciated his talents enough to know that he had the talent to do it. But, the same old thing, I say this with experience. The only bad thing about experience is you don't appreciate it until after you need it.
Yeah, the Eagles aren't appreciated today. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to ask Coach something we don't ask a lot on our show because it's not applicable. What's it like to go into the Professional Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio? My dad's from Canton, Ohio. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Coach is. We're going to talk to Coach about that with Damo and me when we come back on the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Remember, you can watch our show at WBCBSports.com and YouTube Live by searching WBCB Sports. Back at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Great food, great fun, great fans. And Coach Vermeil after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão honors patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, Damo's heading down to the Phillies game right after the show, worried if he's going to make it or not. Tomorrow night, Damo, is going to be a real cluster, you know what.
Yeah.
With the Phillies game, the Flyers home opener, which has already been moved up an hour, and a soccer game, which people don't realize there are going to be 65,000 people there at the link. Good luck with traffic, but good luck in making it tonight.
Take public transportation or walk.
Coach, you a baseball fan? We were talking about the Phillies a little bit before. Have you locked on to the Red October thing?
I start becoming a fan when they get in the playoffs, and then I really enjoy it. And I really like to listen to the broadcasters because I learn something every time I listen to them. I've never followed the game that intensely to really understand all the nuances of the game and the stats and the abbreviations and all that kind of stuff. But playoff games, the announcers do really a great job.
It's interesting you bring that up. I always wonder if somebody watched a football game with you that you had no connection to. Do you watch a football game like a fan, or are you diving into each play, breaking down the X's and O's, whatever you can see on the television? What's it like to watch a football game with Dick Vermeil?
Well, I watch a game more critically watch fundamentals of players, because far more plays break down on an offensive snap because poor fundamentals somewhere. 10 guys did it well, and the left tackle didn't jam properly, and the guy gives up a sack, or the right guard got beat inside. Should have never gotten beaten inside. So it looks like a bad play call. It was a good call, just poor execution fundamentally.
One more thing, and I know Dama has stuff he wants to ask you real quick, but the Eagles didn't play anybody in the preseason, literally nobody. I mean, obviously you have to play somebody. And it shows, and it's shown for a few weeks, and you figure they're not going to get in rhythm till in the middle of October maybe. You were completely the opposite, with a long, intense training camp in pads. The rules in the Players Association weren't there in those days. How has it hurt the NFL, if in your opinion it has?
Well, I think it has. It definitely has. And I think that it takes teams longer to get going. But some teams utilize all the contact and the physicality of practices that they possibly can, and some people avoid them. To me, I would utilize every minute of it I could, and I would play the guys some in the preseason games. Because, I coached 19 years in the NFL, and I was never around a torn Achilles tendon. Every week someone tears Achilles tendon. Yeah. These guys...
Never?
Never.
Really?
They didn't have them those days. Why? Because you work so much more physically and lower to the ground on the ground and all this kind. Put your body in a position. You're working those tendons. Now they play the game standing up. A lot of them do. And when they get in the contact games, now that's when they're starting to pull those things because the rest of the body isn't ready for it.
And you've got a lot of parts of the game that are ragged in these first 5-6 weeks. Like sacks this year are the highest they've been since 2013.
Yeah.
And from talking to people, coaches, some broadcasters, and people like that, some ex-players, I mean, they all say it's because when you don't play in the preseason at all, in many cases now, you're going to be rusty, and it takes time to get the cohesion that you're going to need to.
No question, and the amount of time the offensive line coach has to coach his guys fundamentally.
Yeah.
And just he's got a job on his hands now without Lane. What's it like, Coach? You had Orlando Pace, a Hall of Fame tackle. You played him at left tackle. Eagles have two tremendous tackles, Mailata and Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
What's it like to lose a Lane Johnson, regardless of who the backup is? Jack Driscoll had a bad day yesterday. We'll see about him going forward. But when you lose an anchor on the edge in these days of the pass rush and the passing game in the NFL, what's that like?
It hurts you more out there than it does inside, in between the two guards and center. You lose a tackle out there. Plus, it hurts you more from week to week, depending on who the defensive end is against you.
Yeah.
If he's another average guy and just a good solid guy, you hold your own. But if he's a super player that he's making probably $4 million a year more than you are, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, Damo, it's going to be a big loss for the Eagles. Is Driscoll, I mean, you got to play him another week, but Opeta's pretty well in for Juergens now. What do you do with Lane Johnson?
Don't count this guy out. I mean, I know.
Miami's quick, though.
No, I mean, but Lane Johnson played with a torn groin in the playoffs.
How well you play, not if you.
I refused. I asked our doctors when they came in on Monday to give me an injury report to never say high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Because they were pain in it.
Even if it was?
Even if it was. It fooled me with something else.
Yeah, it used to be.
Because there was always around 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, I have my beautiful wife, Amy, out in the audience tonight. And if I bought a yellow sport coat, Coach, she would look at me and say, what are you doing? Yellow sport coats aren't big in this world, but you have one that is big because it's given out by the NFL when you make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You were inducted a couple years ago in Canton, the culmination of a life's work. What was that like for you? You waited and waited and waited, and then you were selected for immortality. What was that like?
Overwhelming. And I wasn't a guy sitting around waiting to be selected. I really never got into that frame of mind. I was actually, when it was all said and done, I was surprised because there are so many guys that really that should be in, and I'm not saying I don't deserve it. I'm humble, but I think some of the things I did would warrant consideration, but I don't know if it would be before the other guys that aren't in. So
apparently it was.
I'm so grateful to all the players, coaches, and owners that made a contribution to put that coat on me because I sure as hell didn't do it by myself.
Do you ever wear it around?
I've wear it to specific functions. Yeah.
Where do you keep it?
I keep it at home here, and
You planning on robbing it?
I wore it about 2 weeks ago to some charity event that it would be important to have it on because a lot of people haven't seen one, haven't been around. It's like the Masters green jacket,
It is.
Yeah.
People see that, they go, he must have done something, even if they don't know who he is. It's an amazing thing. Kind of out of nowhere, guys, both of you on this one, whoever wants to answer it. The NFL trade deadline's coming up at the end of the month along with Halloween. I don't know what Howie Roseman's going to dress up on at Halloween, but he is going to have to make some deals. The secondary is just beat up, Damo. We had blankets yesterday, Justin Evans. We know about Darius Slay, who'll be back. But is Howie Roseman going to be in the market for a slot corner, a safety? Because they're a team like Miami with their speed this week.
Yeah.
You just cringe thinking about it. Is Howie going to do something?
I think he's trying. I think he will try. But I mean, they need somebody inside to right now they've given up more 15-yard and 15-plus yard completions than any team in the league. Okay. They're tied with Denver, which is not company you want to keep right now.
Right.
They're trying to avoid the big play, but they're giving up all those intermediate area throws. And when they lost Devontae Maddox, he was so valuable to that defense. That I know how he's looking. He's making phone calls. I would be surprised if they don't make at least one trade before the October 31st deadline.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Nobody's done a better job than Howie has personnel-wise. Nobody really has in the league. But when you stop and think you've got a defensive secondary that's last in the league in interceptions, you've got 2 takeaways. And all we ever talk about is the turnover ratio and how important it is to not give it up and then take it away. We got 2 pass interceptions.
Yeah.
Here's something out of nowhere, Coach. Has nothing to do with the Eagles whatsoever. But I wanted your opinion on this. Sean Payton is a pretty good football coach. He's won a Super Bowl.
He's a great football coach.
And he's coaching the Broncos this year, making Walmart money, jillions of dollars to coach the team. Made some comments about Nathaniel Hackett in the offseason that I'm not sure you're on the same page with. If Sean Payton said, hey, Coach Vermeil, give me 15 minutes of your opinion on that, it'll never be anywhere between us two. It will, because we're asking you now. But if he asked you to counsel him on that, would you ever say that about another coach?
No. And you know something? I think a day after he said it, he regretted saying it, and sometimes you're caught off balance and your mouth moves faster than your mind and you're in trouble, Because, Sean Payton is as fine an offensive football coach as I've seen. I really think he could throw the football against the best pass defenses, and he'd throw the ball in a different way. Remember, he had a 5'11" quarterback, and it was amazing how they threw the ball. So I've always had great respect for him as a football coach, and I know him a little bit. I don't know him real well. I knew him when he was a young GA. I'm a graduate assistant, but I think he probably, in fact, I think I read where he said he regretted saying that. But
I would imagine it was a moment of, I don't know what caused him to say it. But
well, he's not a big ego, arrogant guy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys say that to make themselves look better because that, but it's backfired, and it keeps coming up. It keeps coming up all the time.
Yeah.
And Hackett, I knew his dad real well, okay? Because he was a little kid when I was...
All right, guys, there's something happened yesterday that doesn't happen very often at all, which is tremendous for the Eagles. And it helped cost them the game, obviously, every little bit when you lose like they did in the last couple of minutes. Jake Elliott actually missed a field goal. It was a short field goal, 35, 36 yards. Seems like he's better the longer he goes, which makes no sense on any level. Domo is human, isn't he?
Yeah.
Not a robot. Not a robot.
I don't know if there was a problem. I mean, the snap looked fine. The placement looked fine. He just missed it.
Well, Dom, you're really good with the stats. Has there anybody ever been 100%?
Nobody.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
so even as a coach, when you're on the sideline and you have that, sooner or later when he's on a streak, he's going to miss it.
Are you punter and place kicker football players coach? Are they guys on your team?
They used to drive me freaking crazy. Jeez, unbelievable. I later on, we drafted better ones, and got it into. But for a while, when you're scavenging and don't have draft choices and you're taking cast-offs and. God, I never had real good luck.
No.
He had barefoot kickers.
He started, he was just immature. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just a kid that was slow in growing up to becoming a man in the NFL.
Yeah. Now, who was the kicker? You had a problem in the playoffs with a kicker.
That was because we lost our kicker.
Yeah.
And I decided to use the punter who had been a punter and placed a kicker in college, and they hit the goalpost, kicking the field goal.
Uh-oh.
The great field goal story I like to tell is my first year here with Horst Moomin. Horsey, okay, the German.
German.
We're no good, but we're down and got a chance to win a game late in the season. And I go over to him and I ask him, Horst, which hash mark would you like the ball on? He said, did you think about a fake?
The kicker asked you that.
Yeah, you know what he did? He kicked the ball over the left pylon. Wow. Then I found out he was a beer drinker at halftime. Jeez Christ, when he said
halftime.
At halftime.
Coach, we're going to take a break in a second, but just an aside, you had a player named Vince Papale that they made a movie about, obviously invincible. If there was a guy on this roster that you would equate to Vince Papale at all, is there one on the Eagle roster, somebody who came out of nowhere, not playing with a local team, but is there somebody that shocks you that they've achieved what they have in the NFL?
Well, the safety, is it Blankenship?
Yep.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him play, the first time they started playing, I said, hey, this kid can play.
Yeah.
Forget where he was drafted. Hey, this kid can play. Yeah.
Damo, is he going to be back anytime soon?
I don't know. We don't get much information from Nick as far as the severity of injuries. He always says that the PR guy will tell you. And the PR guy never, other than the injury report, they never tell you.
Well, they don't want the other coaches
to
evaluate whether he's going to be ready or not ready. That's the reason they do that.
But, what was he out 2 weeks with the original rib injury?
So ribs hurt. People who've never had rib injuries or pulled calves think they're sissy injuries until you get one. You realize you're not.
In the old days, they used to do things that guys played anyway.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They don't do those things anymore.
No.
That's good.
And when we come back, we're going to find out if other coaches call Coach Vermeil and ask what the hell went wrong, if Sirianni or anybody else, if he's willing to release the information, we will see. But I think Dick Vermeil must get calls from bunches of coaches who want to know, why did we lose? What do we need to change? Hall of Fame coaches don't grow on trees. This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff show right here on 1490 WBCB, 107.3 FM, and we're back right after this. Stay with us.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And we're back. We have fans of all ages here. 19-month-old Harper is walking in front of the table here. Harper, named after either Bryce Harper or somebody else named Harper. Could be, but we got little kids here and all kinds of great stuff. In 1981, Damo, some of the people here were little kids, and they saw something similar to what's going on this year.
Yeah, Dick, we wanted to ask you, 1981, you're coming off a Super Bowl loss, though, the Raiders that year before. You're in a similar situation to Nick. He starts out 5-0. You start out 6-0 before you lost. What was, the challenges of coming off that Super Bowl loss, but more so, I know that was towards the end of your stay in Philadelphia, so there were a lot of things going on as far as that you were dealing with coaching-wise. Yeah. But how difficult is it to when you got a team that's unbeaten to bounce back after they lose?
Well, we started out in 2002. 1981.
Right.
And won 6 straight.
Right.
And we were beating some good football teams, and we were very confident. We were playing with great confidence, and we get beat and that kind of stuff. And where I made as a leader and head coach a mistake is I kept working them a little harder to try to eliminate what we did fundamentally wrong here, and I wore them down.
Right.
By the end of the year, I had worn them down. And then we get in the playoff game, and our punt returner fumbled the first punt and first kickoff. Remember, we were down 14-0 and only touched the ball once.
Yeah.
Because
it's not like baseball.
Return and a kickoff return to the end zone.
One game too. You wake up on the wrong side of bed.
Yeah.
It could be that.
So I blame myself more. I really do, because we were so confident when we were playing early, because we were confident we were a good football team, and we kept approaching that. And we'll always say we may not go undefeated, but it's going to take a real good team to beat this group.
Speaking of confidence, and Robert Saleh mentioned this after the game, Eagles had the longest undefeated streak against another NFL team, I think ever, 12-0 against the Jets over 50 years. That's over, of course, now. I want to wish, by the way, my mother a happy 92nd birthday today. Mom, I love you. Coach Vermeil is going to be 87, speaking of 92. Not that far behind.
Don't say that word.
Well, October 30th, day before Halloween. Yeah. How do you do it, Coach? You seem like you're 55 years old.
I wish I was. No, I just keep moving.
I
just keep moving. I keep working. I work out. I'm a fitness guy, not a nut on it, but I work out. I take care of myself.
At your vineyard?
And I know, first with the weight training program, I'm a big believer in resistant weight training and a machine type thing, not heavy weights, but exercising all the muscles of your body in a strenuous activity, not just light, and that I think that helps
every
your
day?
Entire body. No, 3 days a week.
Okay.
I've been doing that all through my coaching, and when I retired, I haven't stopped. So I think that's the number one thing, and then you got to be fortunate. Yeah. You really have to be lucky, and right now both my wife and I are very fortunate. I don't use the term blessed, because there are people that really deserve to be blessed, but not a football coach. Okay?
Do you have anything diet-wise that you do eat, don't eat?
I eat intelligently, and sometimes too much, because I really enjoy. I was raised in a family where you sat down with the entire family every night and ate a full meal, and you had to clean your plate. Okay, and then
my dad. Your mom a good cook?
Oh, yeah, great cook. She wasn't initially. She learned from the Italian side of my family how to really cook. But anyway, yeah, and then you get older, then you're drinking wine with your dad. First you put water in it, but it was always sort of an evening ceremony. Yeah. And I think my grandkids tease me today, how in the hell can you eat so much?
Yeah.
Well, you bring that up, and now you talk about wine. You do it for, I'm not sure, not a living. I'm sure you're fine without it, but you have a vineyard in California.
Yeah.
I know you take pride in it. You were nice enough to give us some bottles of wine, which everybody that had them loved them. Tell us about your vineyard and then what's going on with Vermeil Wines.
Well, I don't own a vineyard. We don't own the vineyard. I've been involved with the vineyard all my life because my great-grandfather on the Italian side owned a portion of that vineyard a long time ago. But I've been involved with it ever since I was born. So, and the 4 kids still own the vineyard that the family bought it from my great-grandfather. So, I mean, they've had it for over 100 years. So it's a 170-acre vineyard, and I go out there and work. I drive tractor during the harvest. Okay.
Do you really?
Yeah, I drive tractor and I really enjoy it because I get to see what real work is, watch the pickers pick, and these guys, I mean, you talk about work. Oh boy. And there's always 4 or 5 guys within the 11, 12-man crew that are first-round picks too. There's always people that work at a better tempo.
You got a vineyard at all?
I remember last year I called him, didn't know where he was, but I asked him. He says, "Yeah, I'm out here in California," and it was like 90 degrees, and he's out picking grapes.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Oh yeah. A year ago, they got 3 days in a row at 115 degrees, and that's what really forced everyone to pick the red grapes earlier. Yeah. I was out this year for 3.5 weeks, didn't pick a red grape.
Wow.
If some Wine Spectator magazine called you and said, "Hey, Coach, what's your best wine?" I assume it varies year to year, but of the 23 crop or 22 crop, whatever it is, what's the best Vermeil wine?
Well, right now, the best one we've made was a 96 grade Rosedale Cabernet.
Wow.
We call it the Rosedale because that's the Rosedale area of the one block of Cabernet, and our winemaker just loves the soil and the vines and how it was all constructed, and so far that's been our best bottle of wine. And we just gained the rights to the whole portion of that because Camus had the rest of it. We only had 6 rows of it.
Rosedale's where Guy Fieri's from. Do you know him at all?
Who's that?
Guy Fieri, the guy on the Food Network with the
I know him by watching him on television.
There's a lot of a growing number of NFL players that have gotten into the wine business.
Yeah.
Well, Todd Collins and Trent Green, my 2 quarterbacks from Kansas City, are both limited
Drew
partners.
Bledsoe's big time in the wine.
Yeah, he's big time in it. So is Dan Marino and Dave.
Dave Craig?
No, actually I should know. You'd be able to give it to you. Marino and his partner have a very fine Cabernet in the state of Washington. It's called Passing Time, and it's excellent. Good.
Dama, you were playing hurt tonight. Good for you. Where'd this come from?
I don't know.
Just screaming too much at the TV?
No, just yesterday I woke up and it
happens, but you're playing hurt.
Yeah.
Coach, how often does somebody, I mean, you obviously have a couple of opinions and a little bit of skill on the offensive side of the ball. I'm sure the defensive side of the ball too. How often does a high school, a college, a pro coach, do you get calls out of nowhere from people asking about what to do or what happened or anything in general from coaches throughout the year?
Not really. There are a few people, head coaches that I text back and forth with. I've had coaches. This year I had a coach call me. I won't mention his name. They were going to play the Miami team, that team with that great speed and all that, and he wanted to know what defensive teams did to my greatest show on turf offense with the Rams when we won the Super Bowl. What they did, and I recommended that they look at the Tampa Bay game in the NFC Championship game when we beat them. When we were fortunate to win the game, they shut us down completely. And I said, then watch the second Rams Super Bowl game when New England and Belichick beat the Rams in that game. Watch what they did, because I can't give you all the answer, but I always thought if it's true speed, then don't let them come off the ball, off the line of scrimmage as a sprinter. Make them avoid somebody and then re-accelerate, and that breaks the rhythm a lot of times of the high-speed receivers.
Yeah, Damo, it's a dangerous strategy, though. If you press guys like that and miss, you're going to have big problems.
But you back them up with a safety. I mean, you don't do it when, like the guy coming in this weekend, you back him up.
Yep. Well, you saw yesterday, James Bradbury was covering Garrett Wilson a lot.
Yeah.
And he just, he played off coverage just about the entire game. He was not going to get beat.
Yeah.
The problem was they kept beating him
in front of him. And they still didn't get up. They didn't get. They didn't give up points to lose a game, really.
The defense played really well.
All right, there was a guy at the game yesterday who has a relative that plays for the Philadelphia Eagles named Travis. How do you pronounce that last name? Kelsey. Who's apparently in a relationship now with someone named Swift that's not named DeAndre, Coach, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Was that a distraction? If you were Andy Reid right now and the whole world's concerned with your tight end and his relationship, obviously you got a million things to think of, and nothing you can do about it, but how would that relationship and TV fawning over her and the whole entertainment side of football, would that disrupt you at all?
I don't know if it would disrupt me. It might the player.
Sure it is.
My advice to kids like that, especially the ones the Rams situation, really is L.A. and out in that atmosphere and all you just don't ever forget what you really are. You're a football player. Don't get into this. I worry about all guys doing all these commercials.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick they start thinking they're actors. They're not actors. They're football players.
I got to ask you about that because you've done so many commercials for Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and everything over the years. What do you think of Andy now doing the?
Yeah, that's great.
He's become he's almost a natural.
He's terrific.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible.
There's so many sides to Andy Reid that most of us don't know.
Yeah.
Really, as a person, he's an amazing guy, and he will go down as one of the top 3 coaches in the history of the league.
Absolutely,
he definitely will. And to be able to do it and handle the different adverse things he's been confronted with, boy. It takes a real strong personality to do that.
Did you steal my nuggies, Domo?
Huh?
Nuggies. You love that word Andy created?
I can't get enough of that commercial.
He's unbelievable.
No matter how. It's funny with Andy. He's different than you.
In the
standpoint of
lucky.
Like when after he left the Eagles, they got fired, but it was kind of a soft firing. Everybody suggested
There's no such thing as soft firing.
Well,
you're out of here.
They gave him a cake and signed a ball for him.
Yeah.
But everybody, all his friends said, take some time off. Take some time off.
Took 3 days off.
Yeah, and that was not it. Andy said that's not me. He's his, sad.
Well, I'll give you some insight on that. I talked to him the day it was announced.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do, Andy? He said, I'm going to coach.
Yeah.
I'm going to coach.
How many teams came after him, do you think?
I don't know.
Obviously Kansas City,
the
but
smart ones did.
Yeah, when a coach like that comes off the vine.
Yeah.
It was a great situation for him. Kansas, you know Kansas City better than anybody.
Yeah.
The town is...
The town, the city, the ownership.
Yep. Yeah. Stable ownership. By the way, congratulations to Jason Kelsey, setting the Eagle record, 145 consecutive starts.
You know how hard that is.
Pretty good.
Especially as
for a lineman.
It's amazing. That's a testament to his character and his determination and his will to win. And he's one of these guys, maybe a little bit on the old-fashioned side. He doesn't want to let the other guy down.
But he's not like Damo. He doesn't play hurt through stuff like this. But he plays hurt, Damo. Your respect level for Jason Kelsey has to be pretty good right now.
Oh, it's high. And he, the thing, I don't know if Dick saw the documentary that he made.
I haven't seen it, but I heard about it. It's the number 1 documentary in the country right now.
It's tremendous. And to listen to him talk about the awareness of, he knows he's straddling a line here with what it's going to be like 20 years from now. Not only mentally, but physically. He wants to be able to get down on the floor with his grandkids.
Yeah. It's awesome stuff. Yep. A lot of great people here at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. We're pleased and honored to be every week. Final segment coming up in a second. I want to remind you, one of our guests here a couple weeks ago was here in the audience tonight. Mike Reichenbach is going to be honored with the Greg Brown Award for his work with kids in the Philadelphia area at the Bolero in Ben Salem on November 13th. Proceeds award to Mother My Cleats, the kids' charity that he helps in the Northeast. A great guy, Mike Reichenbach, getting a great award. Good luck and congratulations, Mike. We are back with Coach Vermeil, who we are pleased to have with us right after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/stay covered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, back with Coach Vermeil, final segment. How about a nice hand for Coach Vermeil for coming out tonight, and a nice hand for our audience for coming out to the pub.
Thank you.
It is great stuff. Next week we'll have John Spagnola, tight end on Dick Vermeil's 1980 team. This Sunday night, guys, the Miami Dolphins come in. Coach, I don't know if they're the greatest show on turf or grass. That's a controversy unto itself. But they're pretty good. Tua Tagovailoa, probably the favorite for the MVP right now. This track meet that they call the Dolphins with obviously Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Devon Chain, who's injured right now, but Mostert. They are quick. Are they reminiscent to you of the greatest show on turf?
Well, no question. You know, and I say this with great respect for my staff and what my team did that year. But we scored 12 touchdowns when the offense was watching the game. Our defense played pretty well.
Yeah. Yep.
No one wants to, when the team scores like we did in many of the games, no one wants to give the other side of the team credit for getting the ball back for the offense right away and all these kind of things. But we scored 12 touchdowns with the offense watching the game. So that distorts the point. So we weren't scoring like Miami's scoring right now.
Yeah. I mean, the defense needs to do. I mean, they've gone 3 games without a takeaway, and I think they're going to need to help the offense this week.
Oh yeah.
They got to turn the ball over. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, still pressure. Yeah. Everyone's Purdy. Oh my Purdy. Well, he looked like a free agent or a 7th round pick. But pressure.
Well, you mentioned 7th round pick. You did pretty well with a guy who was undrafted named Kurt Warner. He was stocking shelves. Trent Green gets hurt during the preseason. Season's over. Blah blah blah. Kurt Warner comes in the game fresh from stocking shelves. If I said to you at that point, "Hey, Coach, by the way, Kurt's not only going to do well for you, it's not only going to be the greatest show on turf, he will join you one day in the Hall of Fame in Canton," you would have said to me what?
I had no clue he could play that well. I thought he could play, and I told the ownership we will play with it. We will play well with him.
Yeah.
We'll play well because we were a really good football team. We had no weakness. No weak position. We weren't trying to cover up for anything. We could coach and play.
Who's the best player on that team?
Probably Marshall Falk.
Marshall Falk?
He was truly.
Not bad, though.
Yeah. And the quarterback, he ends up being what he was too, but he was just, you don't know what a truly gifted player is until you get to coach one.
Yeah.
It's a holy mackerel.
Well, you're the 5th Hall of Famer from that team.
Yes, and Torrey Holt, I think, will go. Torrey Holt will get in.
He's overdue.
Has it gone too far, Coach, this thing with the backs in the NFL and the devaluing of running backs? Has that gone too far? I mean, not everybody's Marshall Falk, obviously. DeAndre Swift has played well. Got him from the Lions for a 4th round pick. Have we gone too far in devaluing the backs?
I think whenever you devalue somebody that touches the ball extremely well, it's a mistake. Yeah, that's me. I'm old-fashioned in that category, but without Wilbert Montgomery, I would have been an NFC championship team. Those kind of guys. And the game's a little bit different today. It's also more wide open. Yeah. And without Marshall Falk, when he touched the ball, he was as valuable and worth what any wide receiver to touch the ball. Now, not everybody fits in that category.
Yeah.
If you got 3 running backs, to me, when you have 3 running backs running, you don't have 1. You have 3. when you really have one, you just let it, hey, what did they do in the 49ers?
Yeah.
They let him play.
Yeah. Nick obviously stayed away from DeAndre Swift, then he played him a couple weeks. Yesterday, we didn't see much of him. Will the real DeAndre Swift please stand up? What's going on with it? Who is DeAndre Swift in this offense?
Well, he ended up he had 18 touches in that game.
All 8.
10 of them or 8 of them were on passes.
You never know when a guy like that's going to make a play beyond coaching.
Yeah.
And that's when there are guys that are worth more money because they will take the play you design and make it better.
Yeah. I think that Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni want to get him more. I mean, he is already starting to get very involved in the passing game. They want to get him more involved because they saw in Detroit how valuable this guy can be as a pass catcher. So,
Coach,
let me say this:
Sure.
1969, every road game, I shared a room with the offensive line coach, Ray Prohaska. His name was Ray Prohaska, old line coach. Okay. And I would say, Ray, how do you run the ball in the NFL? You know what he'd say? Call it.
Back then,
The
it was
only
called a
things
lot.
that don't run well, don't call it.
So, if Nick Sirianni called you up, I know I've asked a couple of the same kind of questions, but if Nick called you up and said, hey, Coach, did we run the ball enough yesterday? I mean, they had corners out, but they're the 29th ranked run defense. What would you tell them?
I would always think I have to run the football.
Yeah.
I'd always think I have to run it. Again, taking advantage of the strength of my offensive team beyond the quarterback. Those offensive linemen, when that line's healthy, they're the best offensive line in football. They're the only dominating offensive line.
Did that cost them the game, Damo?
No, the turnovers cost him.
Oh, the turnovers cost them the game. They don't turn the ball over. They probably score 2 more touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, you can go back some years with Doug. There were a few times when they'd run the ball like 10 times.
Yeah.
That's concerning. Yesterday it ended up being 22. I just think he got carried away with he thought they would have more success throwing against a secondary that was as banged up as that one was. And it wasn't.
I'm sure of that, but there wasn't 22 runs called.
Right.
There was 14 runs called.
Yeah.
And then a couple quarterback run
The
calls.
others were the quarterback.
But that's just, you take those approaches and you live with them, and if they work, boy, it was really a hell of a game.
We're talking about Brian Johnson. Back to Sean Desai, the defensive coordinator. Did well in the red zone yesterday. The Jets 11 points off 4 turnovers, 4 field goals in the red zone. But the 0 turnovers. You look at what the Eagles for. They got 0. First, Zach Wilson, who obviously was shelved for Aaron Rodgers, quarterback in the Jets. Couldn't turn him over. Obviously the Jets didn't fumble, but to me the 0 is more concerning than the 4, Damo. Is it to you?
No, the 4. It's the 4 jumps out.
The one pattern is only 2 interceptions.
Yeah, the whole season.
How can we be more aggressive? Because we do get good pass rushes. And I always say the negative of sack is the quarterback can't throw the ball. So, we get a lot of pressures, and knockdowns.
And the Jets got pressures without the blitz.
Yeah.
You would think you would see some strip sacks, things like that with that pass rush.
Yeah. They'll come. You watch. They'll come.
Yeah, they will. It's what do they say? They come in bunches.
Yeah.
Kind of like grapes.
Yeah.
So Sunday night, the Dolphins come in here with Tua Tagovailoa and his track team against the Eagles. Eagles are 2-point favorites in this one. You expecting the Eagle win, Coach?
No, my computer says they'll lose by 6.
Yeah.
Really?
Going into the season, using all information from every game played last year, they were plus 11 coming into this game over the whole season prediction. Now using only this year's 6-game stats, they're minus 6 in the game.
What do you think, Damo?
The same. I mean, I think injuries are going to, they probably won't have Lane. So they're not going to be able to just, trade scores with them. They're probably going to be missing Reed Blankenship. I think they lose by 6 or 7.
What about the Niners, guys? They lose yesterday to the Cleveland Browns without Deshaun Watson. They lose McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. Coach, what's it like to coach an NFL team throughout this Armageddon of a season? You know who's going to get hurt, but people are going to get hurt. How much do you stay up at night as a coach wondering who's next? I don't have depth at certain positions. Does Does it scare you as a coach watching tape, knowing that a certain number of your guys just aren't going to make it, and you wonder who they'll be?
You know, I learned in preparation of a team to play, you cannot worry about injuries. You have to worry about him, preparing him to be the best possible player he can be game day. And if you worry too much about injuries, you are taking away from what it takes to make him ready to play. And, you know, I've said this many times, our training camps were all training camps were rougher then, but ours were really tough because we didn't have draft choices. But our left tackle and our right tackle and our center played 7 years, and between the three of them, they missed 5 starts in 7 seasons, including playoff games. But they were physically prepared for the tempo of the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Domo, what are you working on? We know you write for the 33team.com, a great website that in your retirement you were probably working more than you ever did when you were working. You got a bunch of good stuff there. What are you working on now?
Nothing specific right now, Jolly. I just had a story that ran about, you know, the jumping sacks and trying to explain why they've jumped. I mean, all the empty sets, lack of depth on offensive lines, the inexperience of quarterbacks.
And so the smart quarterback, the genius who he thinks is a genius coordinator,
right,
or passing game coordinator, they have everything now.
Yeah.
Doesn't start with protection first.
Now it's send 5
Pressure and protection, right? Coaches, final question, I guess, to you, and we've had just a blast having you. We thank the pub, but we thank you, obviously, as well. Is this a better game? If I said to you, when you coached the Eagles in the 70s and 80s, you obviously came back with the Rams and the Chiefs, is this a better game than it was, or was it a better game than it is?
It's a more exciting game today. It's more wide open. More good big things happen in the game. You know, it just, you know, the spread formations. There were a few teams that started opening and spreading like Landry at Dallas, and movement and shifting and all this. But the evolution has made it a more exciting game than it was. That's why the ratings keep going, and they start, you know, that salary cap keeps growing. That starts the kind of money they're spending on players.
Yep. Damo, anything final to say tonight?
No.
You've toughed it out. You're a warrior. You were questionable.
It was tough.
Go vocal cords tonight.
Phils.
Go Phils. You're a big Philly fan, aren't you? Going down to the game tonight? Shelley's down there?
Now that I'm not working for a newspaper, I can root for a team I'm not covering.
You can afford tickets, huh?
Yeah. I'm lucky enough that my daughter works for the Phillies.
Oh, that's right.
Get a discount.
All right. Well, Coach Vermeil, we have really been pleasured and honored to have you here tonight. Thank you so much for coming.
Always fun to be with you guys.
Great crowd came out tonight. Thank you so much for everybody coming out tonight. Give yourselves a hand. Next week we'll be back with John Spagnuolo. The week after that, Vaughn Hebron. But there's only one Dick Vermeil, and we're so pleased for having him tonight. We've enjoyed the show so much. Hopefully you've had too. Eagles got to get back on track next week against the Dolphins. Meanwhile, go Phillies. We're in October. They're winning the Kelly Green Sunday. Hopefully a green February. For Paul Domowitch, I am Paul Jolovitz. Coach Vermeil, thank you so much. This has been the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Leanne O'Neill produced this fine program. Gus Barber back at the station. And you guys out there, the crowd, the best. Back next week. Thanks for coming this week. Go Eagles, go Phillies.